Sega's mini consoles have been a resounding success, reuniting older gamers with their favourites while introducing a new generation to the brilliance of Sega games. So far, Sega had kept their mini consoles confined to the 16-bit generation, with Mega Drive Mini and Mega Drive Mini 2, yet many Sega fans had long hoped a Saturn and or Dreamcast Mini wasn't too far behind. In fact, hopes were raised by a survey packed with the Japanese Mega Drive Mini 2, asking buyers which mini console they'd like to see next from Sega.
こちらです。来たセガサターン 88%。
やっぱりセガサターン、日本で一番ヒットしたセガハード。セガサターン。
Unfortunately, those hopes have now been dashed in a recent interview by The Guardian, with Sega's Shuji Utsumi, CEO of SEGA of Europe and America, who had the following to say: "I'm not going for the mini direction, it's not me. I want to embrace modern gamers. We are not a retro company. We really appreciate our legacy, we value it, but at the same time we want to deliver something new, otherwise we'll become history, and that's not what we're aiming for." Now, while these words are a slap in the face to older Sega fans, they're also contradictory, given the recent Virtua Fighter announcement and the revival of several classic IPs, such as Crazy Taxi, Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, Jet Set Radio, and more. Like it or not, Utsumi-san, no matter how much you modernise Sega, you are a retro company. It's your DNA, and truth be told, you can be one without ignoring the other. By modernising retro franchises, Sega are embracing modern gamers while respecting the legacy that's firmly rooted in retro gaming, which makes Utsumi's comments all the more baffling. But that's a topic for a later discussion, because in this video though, I'm going to focus on the Dreamcast Mini that we'll never get. Because guess what guys, we don't need Sega to make one. You can build one yourself with original hardware, easily installable mods, a brilliant bespoke UI, and no worries about modern day censorship or license issues. You choose what goes on your Dreamcast, you choose how the UI looks, and I'm going to show you how. So we'll address the elephant in the room first, the word mini. Of course, by using a real Dreamcast console, you aren't getting a cute little micro version of the system. But mini consoles have never been just about the form factor first and foremost. They're about the selection of games, the hardware features, and of course the UI. The key to all this is one mod, the GDMU, and if you're familiar with the Dreamcast scene, you'll know exactly what this is. For those who may be new to the system though, the GDMU is an optical drive emulator which allows you to run backups of your games via an SD card. The system has no idea that you've replaced its GD-ROM drive and thinks all the data it's being fed is coming from a disk. Installing a GDMU is completely plug and play. There's no soldering required, and the only skill you need is the ability to use a screwdriver. So once the GDMU is installed, you'll need to put your game backups onto the SD cards, along with the UI you'll use to navigate them, and that's where Open Menu comes in. Open Menu is a feature-rich UI that's as close as you could imagine to a genuine Dreamcast Mini UI. You're greeted with gorgeous cover art for each game with the official Dreamcast font. Each game has a description, as well as information on which peripherals they support and how many blocks are required to save your game to the VMU. You can choose the layout, either in the form of a grid that fits more games on screen at once to browse through, or a lineup that features one game at a time as you move from left to right. There's also various themes to choose from, so if you've got a Japanese console like me, you can opt for the orange and white theme. But if you've got a PAL console, you can swap that orange for the deep metallic blue of the PAL packaging. If you have a US console, you can choose the theme that reflects the Sega Dreamcast marketing, unlike Europe and Japan, who opted for just Dreamcast. And for good measure, there's a Shenmue theme in there, modelled around the original GD menu UI. Performance is smooth and fluid, and games with more than one disc can be grouped together into a single tile, with each disc accessed by pressing on the cover art and selecting which disc to load. Returning to the open menu to select another game works the exact same way that a stock Dreamcast does, by pressing A, B, X, Y and start at the same time. If you're in the middle of a game, that will take you back to the title screen, and repeating it on the title screen returns you to the open menu. It's so intuitive, you could literally play Dreamcast for hours and never have to leave the couch. The asset pack that comes with open menu features covers for most games from all regions, but some are still missing. Thankfully though, you can add this artwork yourself, as well as add a description and peripheral compatibility information. But just look at how streamlined, professional and utterly gorgeous this looks. Now, I appreciate that some may watch this and think it's too much work, or that setting it up may be complicated, but trust me guys, it's incredibly easy to do. And our good friend Derek Pascarella, aka A-Team, has done a brilliant step-by-step visual guide of setting up an SD card with open menu, using the GD Menu Card Manager software, and adding artwork using the open menu DAT tool. So please check that link in the description and subscribe to Derek's channel. But there we have it. All that's left now is for you to decide which games you want on your SD cards. You have full creative control over the contents of your Dreamcast, and you don't have to worry about Daytona, Ferrari F355 or Sega Rally 2 being missing because the car licenses have expired, or Metropolis Street Racer being left out because the rights to the music tracks have been lost. And this is the sole reason I've always been against the idea of a Dreamcast Mini, or even a Saturn Mini. I appreciate the convenience of a mini console setup, they're the ultimate plug and play device, but truth be told, they'd be a heavily compromised and stripped back experience for those wanting to reminisce their Dreamcast days. It would be a taster, not the full 3-course meal. So we don't need Utsumi-san to change his mind on a Dreamcast Mini, because the community have given us the means to take the best parts of the Mini experience, tailor them to our own needs and taste, and retain the original hardware. Who needs Dreamcast Mini when you can make a Dreamcast Maxi? Other mods that you should consider once installing a GDEMU are a more modern power supply, which helps in greatly reducing heat from the stock PSU since it no longer has a disk drive putting load on the 12V rail, and if you want near complete silence, you can replace the stock fan with a Noctua variant. I did this, but it was just a bit too quiet. I'm sorry, I like my Dreamcast to make just a little bit of noise. So to finish off, let's look at the pros and cons of a Dreamcast Mini versus a Dreamcast Maxi. The Maxi's pros: you retain the original hardware, you get a professional, fluid UI, it's totally customisable, you control the content, you have community updates, and it's cheaper than an official Mini would likely have cost. Cons around the Dreamcast Maxi: the only ones I can think of is that it does require a little bit of work to get set up. If the Dreamcast Mini had ever become a reality, its pros are obviously that you can play it straight out the box and it has a smaller form factor. Cons for the mini console is that you're stuck with the included games. You can't add your own games, games included could be censored, and many big titles from the era would be missing due to license issues, and overall it would just be a diluted experience. At the end of the day, I don't think Sega officially killing off the Dreamcast Mini is anything to be upset about, because our amazing community has provided us with more than Sega ever could, and best of all, that everything is readily available when needed. If you've been inspired to set a Dreamcast up like this and have any questions, drop them in the comments below and we'll be happy to help. Or why not join the SEGAGuys Discord and our ever-growing community where there's always someone able and willing to help. This has been James the Segaholic of the SEGAGuys. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, we will see you on the Sega side.